We are tonight's entertainment.
You can't handle the truth.
The fire rises.
Pizza time.
You're a wizard, Harry.
So it begins.
You know how much I sacrifice?
You think that's air you're breathing?
Groovy.
I don't have friends. I got family.
We are Sex People! 1, 2, 3, 4!
Craft Services.
Hey, Trent.
Hi, Parth. You're looking well.
It's good to see you.
We have a film podcast.
It's been a while since we have recorded over Zoom.
I know. It's like we forgot to do like all of our classic little back and forth.
We
like
did.
something about being on Zoom, reminds me to do that shit.
But, Trent, what have you been eating most recently?
Yeah, that we'll never forget. For dinner, my mom served beef stroganoff, and we were debating what we thought the word stroganoff meant. She thought it was the Russian word for mushroom, but apparently, and I'm looking at the meaning, not the meeting, because there's meat. The meaning is a noun, a dish in which the central ingredient, typically strips of beef, is cooked in a sauce containing sour cream. And fun fact, we didn't have sour cream, and so my mom used plain, like,
Yogurt?
unflavored yogurt.
Wow.
And she's like, it's the same.
Is it?
It's the same. And then, like, it totally is, but I sort of have a mental block
Sure.
with stuff like that. Similarly, where we're eating it, and I'm like, I don't think I like mushrooms. And she's like, just try. And then I start chewing one, and I'm like, all right, mushrooms are okay. And then I get it in my mind that mushrooms are gross, and then
Do you ever go
I
through,
cou-
like,
I
phases
couldn't-
with
I
egg?
couldn't hang. Well, Parth, I don't know. Have you shared your egg story on the pod? Like,
Yes.
there's a reason that. Oh, well, then I won't make you repeat it. But Parth has a traumatic story that has to do with eggs.
Basically, I was made
Oh.
to eat my own throw up, which was scrambled eggs. But no, well, not really tied to that. but
It was through confusion that your
Yes.
mom accidentally ordered you. There was a miscommunication that resulted in your mom accidentally ordering you to continue eating, and you as a child thought that she meant that you had to eat what you had just thrown up, which was thrown up eggs. So now you still can't eat eggs?
No, I've been able to eat eggs despite that incident, but I feel like sometimes I go through phases where I'm like, yeah, egg for lunch, egg for a nice little breakfast. Like, I'll go through phases where it's like 2-3 times a week I'll have an egg, and then I'll go through a phase where it'll be like, no, like something about it. I'm like, that's not what I want.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go have some form of egg after this. Anthony Bourdain called it the perfect food just because it's like you can do so much with it.
I agree.
It's baking, it's breakfast.
Speaking of baking, this is not what I had to eat most
After
recently.
200 episodes, you've gotten pretty good at podcasting.
Well, I think that if it was just 200, I don't know how good I'd be. But we've done 202 at this point.
Yeah, and
It's the 202nd where you really get into it.
kick into high gear.
Sure. But this morning, we talked about this earlier off mic, but I'm a little under the weather today.
But despite the fact that you like sound and look great and are like perky and nice as always, and so Parth after a few minutes was like, "Ugh, and by the way, I'm sick." And I was like, "Well, Parth, you're not flying any of the sick flags, you know."
Okay, I don't really appreciate
Besides
the
being like a
narrative
sick,
being
like
thrown around
cool
here.
guy and like my friend for the past 5 years.
Very good. So I this morning made blueberry muffins. The Betty Crocker boxed,
Yeah, that
mix
sounds fucking good.
is really good. And I, for dinner, had these frozen Korean chicken egg rolls.
Oh,
that my dad
sounds
bought.
good too.
They-
Maybe I'm just hungry.
Yes, they
It's
were
like
good.
grocery shopping while hungry. It's dangerous.
It is dangerous. But what's also dangerous is only listening to the first like 5 minutes maybe of an episode.
What I think would be even more dangerous is having an intro that we let carry on needlessly long. Don't you? That'd be dangerous for our ratings,
That's
for
a better
our personal relationships,
transition.
for
It seems you're the one that's good after 202 episodes, so why don't we just cue the intro? Welcome back to Craft Services, where we talk about the movies. Each week we talk about a film and hopefully have a crew member of that film to talk with us about their experience working on the picture.
Luckily, we're back to doing that.
Yeah.
To doing our advertised opening spiel is now applicable to actually the end product. The past 3 weeks has been a little bit of a fun detour. Covered Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 3 through 3 of our longest episodes to date. We did 3 commentaries.
Yeah.
In person, I thought that was a lot of fun.
It was a nice change of pace.
Nice change of pace. We talked ad nauseum about Spider-Man. Every conversation happened to veer into the personal and also happened to circle back to talking about Batman in some way. Just because that's who we are as people.
And as men.
We're nerdy men.
We're just geeks. We're just cool guys. Guys
Hey,
being dudes.
Geek is a whole nother thing that I don't know if that's worse.
I think it's all pretty bad.
Yeah, no, we're not doing well. But
you know who did do
podcast
well?
is returning guest Eric Steelberg, who is the cinematographer of such films as like 500 Days of Summer, Juno, and then our last episode with him was covering Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. But then this week we're covering his newest film, which should be coming out by the time
It should be out
you're
this
hearing
yeah, on Sunday it'll be a wide release film, I think.
So you should go to your nearest theater and see Saturday Night, directed by Jason Reitman.
Well, you can spend your Saturday night watching Saturday Night. But now that it's Sunday and this episode's been released Sunday morning, you can just sort of reflect on Saturday night by listening to this episode.
Or you can listen to this episode. You could see the film on Saturday night. You can see the film Saturday night on Saturday night. Listen to our podcast that comes out on Sunday. Or listen to the podcast on Sunday about Saturday night on Sunday. Our episodes come out on Sunday. And then see the movie on Sunday. It's called Saturday Night. Or wait until Monday to see Saturday Night. But you listen to the podcast on Sunday, which comes out on Sunday. But the movie came out. And today's Thursday, and so I believe there are probably early screenings today.
Sure.
Just to
yeah,
say
there are.
another day. Tomorrow's Friday, so on and so forth.
Wednesday. I just wanted to throw one out there. But yeah, we talked with Eric Steelberg. He was
Wednesday with Jenna Ortega. Great, thanks.
Yeah, Eric Steelberg was super cool. Very fun guest. We get into some really cool information, and I kind of don't want to stall playing it. Yeah, we're going to get right into it right now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our interview with Eric Steelberg. He's the cinematographer behind such films as 500 Days of Summer, Juno, and we recently interviewed him for his work on Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. Thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you again. Happy to be here.
We interviewed you last time, so we had some general info. So if anybody's interested in how your career got started, we can direct them over to our Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire interview. But to start off with this one, I wanted to ask you how you first became aware of Saturday Night.
Yeah, well, Jason sent me the first draft of the script during the COVID lockdown. I think it was about late 2020. And we continued talking about it through the spring of 21. And then it kind of went quiet for a little bit while we worked on other things. And then while we were shooting Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire in the UK, it popped back up again. And Jason, who was a producer on Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, said, I think Saturday Night Live is heating up a little bit. There's renewed interest from the studio. And I think it's going to be my next film. And I think I want to do it right after we finish Frozen Empire. What do you think? I said, well, love the script. Script's fantastic. Let's do it. And that was my first notice that it was going to get going pretty soon.
When did you know it was greenlit, and when it was, what did some of your early pre-production preparations look like?
I think it was greenlit sometime in the fall of last year, so that would be fall 23. So less than a year ago, and from my recollection, or it might have been just about a year ago. And we knew we were going to do it on the heels of our additional photography for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which was going to happen in Atlanta. So we were going to roll right into pre-production for SNL. We were calling it SNL at the time. Well, I started pre-production, like I said, right after we finished the additional photography of Ghostbusters, which was in December of last year. So right when we came back from the holidays, we were diving into it pretty heavy. But having the relationship I have with Jason, there's a lot of unofficial conversations that have outside of the official prep period. So, we had been talking about it all through the fall. We've been watching some movies, talking about ideas of how we want to approach it. Originally, when Jason had sent me the script, he had the idea of wanting to do the whole movie as a one single shot. And for a period of time, we were like, well, okay, what would we have to do to make that happen? Is it possible? If so, again, what would it take logistically, technically, financially? And then if not, if we're not going to do that, what is the best way to tell that story? And a lot of our prep was focused on this. What is the movie? Does the identity of the movie have to be one single shot? Is the movie still the same movie? If it's not, because he had conceived it that way.
Mhm.
So, is it still going to exist the same way and feel the same way to him if you do it a different way? So after a lot of discussions, we decided, it would be still successful if we did it in a more traditional way. But if we're going to do it in a more traditional way, he was very interested in shooting film. So the format also took up a lot of discussion time too. And he knew he wanted to shoot film, which we had also done on the movie The Front Runner, which was in 35. When we shot The Front Runner, we'd also tested at the time 16 millimeter because we've always loved 16 millimeter. Jason and I worked on our first short films together in 16 millimeter. So it had been a while, but we were very intrigued and in love with the format and what we saw in our test for Front Runner. But for Front Runner, we had decided it wasn't the correct format, and we ended up on 35. So when Jason said he wanted to shoot film again for SNL, he said, maybe this is our chance to try 16. And of course, at first I said, well, let's test everything and let's look at 35. Let's consider digital. He said, no, I don't want to consider digital. He's like, but yeah, so you test 35 and 16. And then I went off on my own again before the official prep started. This would have been last fall, and started testing, at Panavision, our camera rental house in LA, just on my own with I remember I used my niece to help me shoot the camera test, who was a film student. And I shot 16 and 35 tests just so I could start seeing the differences. And every time I shot a test, I'd show it to Jason. And the more tests we shot, the more in love we fell in with 16. That's how we arrived at that. And that was a major part of our prep, because it became the identity of the movie. The script isn't factually accurate to exactly what happened that night in the 90 minutes leading up to the first airing of the episode. So the accuracy of that wasn't as important as the way it felt that night. The way it felt was something that could not be messed with. We had to capture the tension and the anxiety and the pace, and then visually we had to transport the viewers to that night too, and make it feel like they're right there. They're right behind Lauren's shoulder. They're right in the middle of Studio 8H. And we thought 16 was the way to do that. And when we looked at 35, for instance, it just didn't, it was a little too clean. It didn't have that texture that 16 has. And so in deciding in 16, then it came out that we had to convince the studio, who didn't really know that we were considering 16, to that it was the choice we wanted to make. And it was the creative direction we wanted to go. They knew we were testing film, but I don't think they knew at the time we were testing 16. So that took a little bit of convincing to do when we said, hey, we want to shoot this on 16. Like, yeah, no. We heard no from them a few times before Jason was able to convince them that it was going to actually be fine. And what is going to look like some grainy indie documentary from, the 70s. And that's not what we wanted to do. It wasn't about, making it gritty. It was just about putting it in a time and place.
So you talked about how this movie sort of comes on the heels of working on Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and I was sort of wondering on your end what it was like from working on such a big movie to, I mean, it's still like a studio movie, but like, it's comparatively a smaller movie.
Oh yeah, it's a much smaller movie.
So like on your end,
and visually very different.
Yeah, just like what I'm sure it was exciting to have that change.
Oh, it was absolutely thrilling. Yeah. I mean, leading up to Saturday night, I had done Ghostbusters. Before that, I had done a Star Wars TV show. Before that, I had done a Marvel show. And before that, I had done another Ghostbusters. So all big studio visual effects, big budget movies, all, kind of glossy and huge production value, very complicated. Getting the opportunity to dive into something like Saturday Night was really thrilling because it was such a departure from what I'd recently been doing. And I've actually been doing really my whole career. I haven't done anything like this before. Being able to, like, every movie, you're always trying to, or at least I am trying to do something different, reinvent myself. Even if it's something small, hopefully you're trying to take big swings and do different things so that you don't become repetitive in your work. And this just off the bat allowed for no repetition because I've never done anything like it before. In no way. I mean, it'd been, decades since I shot Super. Actually, I think the last time I had shot Super 16, other than testing it, was for a couple short flashback sequences in 500 Days of Summer, which were done in 16 millimeter black and white. And that was in 2008 or 9 when we shot that. So it'd been a while. Choreographing so much camera movement with the actors, long continuous shots, lighting the sets with almost all built-in lighting. I didn't use a lot of hardly any movie lights on the floor. To clarify, what that means is that usually when you set up shots, you're bringing in lights around the camera and you're lighting each shot individually, right? You don't create lighting and just shoot a scene without lighting each time you change the camera. This movie, I was lighting environments in pre-production with the production designer because Jason wanted to have the freedom to move the camera wherever he went, as if it were a documentary, and make sure everybody was lit well, and also but lit in a way that was conducive to the scene and the story, the narrative. So I had to figure out a way ahead of time before seeing the set or before being on the physical set, because it wasn't built yet, how to create lighting that was built in to these hallways and rooms. And even the studio part, even 8H, we put in a lighting grid that would mimic what we thought would mimic an old TV studio. And we had 400 old incandescent lights that were period correct that we actually used. They're in shot. So they're quote unquote decorative, right? They're set decoration, but we're also using them to light the set. So we're photographing all the lights too. We're photographing the lights in the ceiling, and all those lights are the lights that are actually lighting the set. So all these things were all new to me in this way. I'd never done all these. I mean, I've done these things individually in small ways, but never all together. So it was a major major creative departure and a major shift in thinking on how to shoot and approach the structure of how we were going to shoot these scenes.
So hearing that the original vision was to have the entire film be, a long take, sort of like 1917 sort of thing, is really interesting. And I also think it's to the benefit of Saturday Night that it didn't go that route. And I'm just wondering, when that decision was sort of unfolding, was it apprehension about compromising, or were you, as this DP who would have to figure out a lot of it, were you like, I think this is a more practical and that this is going to be best?
I was definitely coming from a more practical place, knowing that because there's such a comedy aspect to the movie, that doing it as one shot wasn't going to allow for, reactions of other
Mm-hmm.
people to things actors were saying, being able to edit for pace or for emotion in certain scenes, that we were going to be locked into whatever the camera happened to do. And if the camera was, an hour and 20 minutes into the single take, and something happened and the camera didn't land on the right person, or a line wasn't delivered on camera, or any hundreds of things that could have happened or gone not the way you want, that you'd have to start over. And the idea of doing that, just while cool in the accomplishment of and what that would have meant, I don't think it would have been provided for the best version of the movie. And I was just really concerned that the movie be the best version of itself. I just wasn't convinced that now, that's not to say I was fighting Jason on it. I was really embracing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying now about it is kind of hindsight. At the time, I was all for it. I was like, yeah, no, we're going to figure it out. It's going to be awesome. like, this is the movie, because that's what was in Jason's head. That's what's in Jason's or any director's head, really. It's not my place to say I don't think that's right. I mean, I can certainly give an opinion, but I'm all for it. I mean, that's what they're approaching, say this is what it is, and that's what I want to do. That's what I want to help try to figure out.
In the early planning stages, was it trying to be like a real long take, or were there going to be the hidden cuts throughout?
No, it was he wanted to do it as a single actual
Oh,
long take.
wow. That is
We
not what I was
actually
expecting at all.
explored it. We actually explored, what would it mean building a set that was big enough with an exterior on a soundstage for the ice rink,
I was just
multiple
that just
levels.
came to mind as the
Yeah.
one thing that wouldn't click into place.
We were gonna build a street and elevators that we could turn during a scene, and you would exit the elevator into another part of the set to make it look like you were somewhere else. All kinds of tricks like that, and we really explored it. We had it designed. At the end of the day, the complexity, um, it just started to overshadow the narrative of the story, and we felt like everything was going to be driven by camera and technical, and not by the story. And the further we got away from that, the more we realized it wasn't going to be the best version of the movie.
My heart dropped. There was no I had no expectation that it would be a real one take.
Yeah, I mean, so after that, we did talk about, okay, what if it's like 5 or 7 shots? What if it's like a bunch of just 20-minute shots or 15-minute shots? And even that was like, well, if we're doing that, we should not limit ourselves. Like, if you're cutting it up, you're cutting it up. Instead, and what we ended up doing is, if there's opportunities in the movie that we can do long single takes, so that everybody's kind of with the actors, and you're running through these hallways and you're with Lorne in real time, there's a lot of value into that. And if there's moments where we can do that, we should. And we did do that. I mean, there are some longer takes in the movie, particularly the opening when they first come to the elevator and we're introduced to the 8th floor. We take that long camera move. It's about 3-4 minutes long. Not sure, I think 4 minutes long, going through the hallways, and you introduce it to the place and the people. And it's very effective, and the clock's ticking the whole time. You can't cut away. There's no cheating the audience that these things are happening through edits and you cut and you went and filmed something else. No, you had to witness the chaos of all these things happening at once on top of each other. And the only way you can do that is with the camera going around through the set and seeing it all in one continuous take. And that's what it was. All those things were actually happening in real time while the camera was moving through. It was absolute chaos. And it was important to have chaos on set and in front of camera if that's what we're trying to sell. If we're really trying to sell that, having it be one shot and having it appear like it's chaotic, it's the only way we can tell the story.
So, just talking more in depth about, I guess, these longer takes. Of course, it has to be extremely rehearsed to an extent for it to work. Were you ever experimenting while behind the camera at all? I don't because just you're talking about this as a documentary, you wanted it to feel almost a little bit documentary style, sort of. When you're talking about the lighting, that you could just shoot from anywhere. Were you ever on take 5? What if we move the camera here instead? And that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, look, we didn't experiment. No, we didn't experiment. It's actually extremely well planned out, very, very planned out. In fact, Jason and I shot all of our angles and came up with all the shots in pre-production with stand-ins while the set was being built around us, because we had to figure out how we wanted to be specific about how the story was told. So in fact, we actually had conversations where I said, I want to really make sure this doesn't feel like a documentary. We can use documentary techniques in terms of, for instance, like with the lighting and trying to plan things so that everything is built in and you don't feel the movie crew, right? But unlike a documentary, this thing is very planned out. Like, we didn't happen upon anything. So if things look like the camera's just catching something in time, or we just stumbled upon a couple people talking, it was all extremely planned out and extremely rehearsed. And so I would say, no, we actually didn't have any experimentation in this movie at all. I mean, doing things for the first time and not knowing if it's going to work is, in my mind, different than experimentation. I mean, you're R&Ding ideas, in our case, narrative storytelling ideas, and hoping they're going to work. But I don't think that's experimental. At least not in the way I would define experimental film.
And when you're designing the shots while the sets are being built, what are you doing that on? Were you like shooting on iPhone versions at all, or like
yeah? Honestly, we're like in a viewfinder app on our iPhones, and we're walking around, we're recording these takes, we're trying it in different ways with moving our stand-ins in different positions, and absolutely, when we're videoing it, we're taking stills. We're reading through the scenes. We're doing off-camera dialogue. We're thinking about, okay, what's this going to cut to? Should we do that camera move faster? What's happening in the scene? And it's hard sometimes because you have stand-ins, like you don't have the actors performing, so there's nothing to react to, right? We do so much with camera and direction as you're reacting to what the actors are doing in the scene, and when you don't have the actual actors, the cast actors, it can be a little hard to do. But there's a lot you can do. There's a lot you can figure out. Like, we can definitely develop the language and the intent of what we're trying to accomplish, and then hopefully and ideally and almost always the actors will come in and just make it 10 times better.
Talking about your relationship with director Jason Reitman, seems like you've had a working relationship for like 10 or 20 years. Something like that?
We've known each other since we were teenagers, so it's been
even better.
It's been about 30 years, yeah.
So being in each other's lives for so long, and it being a creative partnership, what is like the product of working on films with each other for 30 years? Like, what is what about that gives your relationship like an edge that that another DP director pairing wouldn't have for 30 years?
For me, it's trust. It's the trust we've built up in each other over the years, and that he'll push me to do things that make me uncomfortable creatively. But I trust that it's going to be the right decision, and it might be things that other directors that I work with, who I also love, might not be able to do because I don't have the history and experience with them. So, I mean, it's much like, what can, a friend convince you to do, or what can a family member convince you to do, or what can your significant other convince you to do that other people can't? I think Jason sees the best in me, and he also sees things that I realize that he sees things that I can do that I don't always see. So he'll say, do this, and I'll say like, oh, I don't think that'll be very successful. I don't think I can make that look very good. And he'll be like, yeah, you can. And I'm like, I don't know. It's like, try it. I know you can do this. I've seen you do things like this before. You pull a rabbit out of a hat or whatever it is. And I'll be like, I really am very uncomfortable about this. He's like, I think it'll be great. He's like, and listen, even if it's not, let's take a chance. And it's okay to take a chance and maybe not have it be 100%. Maybe it's okay being a B plus, or maybe the A minus version, but don't worry, it'll be great. He's like, and it's something that we've decided together, and it takes a lot of trust to move forward with that and be okay with it. And that's the best thing about it. And I've had a lot of great additional relationships with other directors whom I love working with. But when you've worked with somebody that long, I think the trust thing and what they see in each other, him and me, and me and him, is really special and unique. And I also think that Jason, he's always surprising me with the decisions he makes. He's very unpredictable even after all these years. Like, he still surprises me with his creative decisions and a way he wants to approach things. Like, I will think, I'll start another movie with him, or we'll be starting a new scene, and he'll come at it in a way I never would have guessed. And I should know. You would think I would know after all this time on set together, and after all these years as friends, that I would have a really good idea of what he was going to do, how he was going to tell a story or part of a story, or even the kind of script he was going to want to direct. And I'm always surprised, and it's wonderful. It never gets stale. I think if we ever get to the point where each other are completely predictable, it'll get really boring and maybe won't be as fun anymore. But it's not. It's all, every day is a surprise. And I think he would say the same thing about me, to some extent.
That's awesome. What an interview.
Well, that wasn't the whole thing, Parth. Don't get carried away.
Are you serious? There's more?
Parth, after 20 minutes, is like, what an interview, bro. I actually really enjoyed that. It's like, Parth, slow down. It's not over.
Wow.
Imagine looking in a mirror. There's a visual for everyone at home. This is part 1. Boom. There's part 2. That's next week.
And it's sort of like when you sometimes look into a mirror, you're like, why he kind of sexier though? And so it's like
Yes.
part 2 is even better than part 1.
You're like, why does it look a little different and a little sexy? And
Why
then,
kind of freaking hot though?
And then, only, I don't
Trent doesn't
even-
really know where to take that one.
I
But
don't
I
even know
can
what to
I
say.
could take it further. Thank you so
yeah.
much to Eric Steelberg for coming on. We look forward to releasing part 2 next week. You can also listen to this podcast on any of your major podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora. We've really got it out wherever you need it. And you can also follow us on our social media on Instagram and Twitter.
Yes.
Or as some people may call it, X.
Yes, but what the form of communication on X is still called tweeting. Is that true?
Well, you'll never hear anyone not call it tweeting, but it's actually called a post now. Like you used to.
I feel dirty. I want to go
I know.
take a bath.
That's why I don't like saying X. The whole endeavor. I was on Twitter since maybe a frequent user of Twitter from when I was maybe 15, 16 years old, all the way up until I was 22, 23, something like
you
that.
checked Twitter with a frequency that I would say was higher than anyone in my life.
And then Elon Musk took over, and I haven't been on. The app has been deleted off my phone for almost a year now.
Yeah, forget which one of my parents made the observation today. They said Tesla drivers are the new BMW drivers. They're assholes out on the road. And I was like, well, that stinks, because it's I like eco-friendly stuff, but you're so right that all the people who drive them seem to be dicks who like driving really fast. And then my mom was like, that Elon Musk, I don't like him. Saw
You
him
tell
at
him,
one of the
Tracy.
Trump rallies. I don't like that. So my mom is off the bandwagon.
My dad is similarly. My dad used to be so pro Tesla and so pro we should get a Tesla. We should get a Tesla.
Because it was cool and environmentally.
And then
seemingly
Elon Musk,
good.
which we kind of knew he was kind of an asshole, he turned out to be a colossal asshole. And my dad was like, I'll never give that guy a cent again. Not that he ever did, but
I sort of don't take into account the details of this short anecdote are a little hazy, but this kid from my high school advocated really hard throughout college to get 20 minutes in a room with Elon Musk, and he finally did after 5 years. And his big pitch was, what if we made boats for outer space?
Wow.
And Elon Musk said, you should make an invention for Earth. And that was their meeting.
Your friend should also find a gun and load it and shoot himself in the
He's
head.
not my friend. He's someone from high school.
Oh, my bad. Then he's fine. All right. Well, we'll see you guys.
Yeah, Elon Musk, if you're listening to this, unless you're gonna buy our show, turn it off now.
Yeah, seriously.
That'd be a pickle. If
Would we sell out to Elon Musk? I kind of feel like we might have to. We're not doing too.
Is selling out even a thing anymore? If Chappell Roan was like, Parth, I'd like you to perform at our next concert.
Yeah, sure. I don't have beef with Chappell Roan, really.
Not yet.
All right. See you guys next week.
Bye bye.